What's up, y'all? Today I'm going to be showing you how you can write your own Hyperpop or Dariacore melodies. This is one of the most common questions that I've gotten on the channel, and the reason I haven't answered it until now is because I don't know a ton of music theory, right? I know enough to kind of do chords and all that, but I don't know enough to succinctly explain what I'm doing in the music theory with this particular genre. But what I do have is 7 different little like tips, tricks, techniques, methods, hacks, formulas, whatever you want to call it, that will help you write better melodies and more like hyper pop feeling melodies. To be honest, at this point, I may have gone from like music theory neutral to like anti-music theory. Let me play these first so you know what you're getting into, and then I'll talk a little bit about that. So here's the first one. That's the first one, and as you're going to kind of see here, my first main tip is get yourself some acapellas, which you can get by taking any track, downloading it, whatever, the full track, putting it in vocalremover.org, going in and tempo syncing it with your track. I have a tutorial where I show how to do that. I'll put that in the description if you don't know. And use the vocal acapella as like a reference to write your melody off of. And I used a Lieu vocal for each of these. The first one is Forgive, the yellow one is Forgive, the purple one is You Could Never. I was actually doing lessons with somebody this weekend, and this was one of the questions, and I honestly didn't. I have a better answer now because I've like spent time like thinking about how I actually do this. But what I can tell you is the way I do this has nothing to fucking do with music theory. I'm gonna start hating now, but I've gone from maybe music theory neutral to like I might be an anti-music theorist at this point. And the reason for that is like anytime that I try and like intellectualize or think about what I'm doing when I'm writing music, it tends to take away, hinder, slow down, stop me from doing what feels right, and make me do what works in like a comfortable, safe bubble of you know, what is correct music theory wise. To me, music theory is like string theory. Like if you know it, cool, I'm proud of you. I tell you what, if you know music theory so good and you love music theory so much, put in the comments a 1-paragraph explanation of how to write Dariacore and hyperpop melodies. I'll be converted, but until then, music theory is like string theory to me. The shit never did anything except for make fucking podcasts hell to listen to, and stoner conversations fucking never end and be annoying. So let's start things out here with one trick that and at the end of this tutorial I'm actually going to show you too how you can come up with your own tricks, tips, techniques, you know, come up with your own methods to do this, and we'll do that at the end of this one. So okay, sorry for the long intro on that one. Now let's get into the first method, which I've called manipulate an ARP. Now I think the initial instinct here, you want to start out with an ARP, and the first instinct would be take this and copy it over and just make little manipulations here. Maybe we'll put this one here. That's in the same key. Now this is the problem with doing it this way, or like perhaps copying this, you know, over your entire bar and doing it that way, is now you have to go in and like suss out, what do I want my next notes to be on the second half? What are the relationships between this note and this note that I need to copy for this note and this note? What is the relationship between this note and this note here that I need to copy in my second half? Because they're different, right? That's the worst way. There's a better way, and it is this way, which is take your thing, copy it over one single time, make an alteration. So like our second note, we're gonna just change, we'll call that changing the position, because it might be up, it might be down, it might be an octave down, you know. This one is an octave down. So what we've done here is we've created 2 different ARPs, one that is a straight run ascending, and a second one that is an altered run with a descending end, right? And now when I take this and copy it over 4 times, all I'm doing here is just, and I wouldn't even say copy it over 4, just copy it over 1 time. Make this easy on yourself, right? Because then we can go in here and just make small alterations, which is like change the start note. are manipulated, you know, note, the relationship between this one and this one is this one has been manipulated. Now we just need to manipulate it again. And then here, we're going to do a new thing. So we're bringing a little new intrigue in here, which is these two are the same, but this one, our descending, we're going to change our second note to have this one kind of fall into the next one. And hopefully that makes sense. I'm not saying do exactly what I'm doing here. I'm not saying like think about the relationships between the notes, because we want to have a pattern that feels hooky and not chaotic. And now we're going to just do the same thing here just to end it, right? How are we going to end this? You know, light alterations to this. So for here, I would assume what I did was I used this playback tool a lot, and you can just go in. And let's say we don't adjust this one. We have this up here. Then we go in. That doesn't sound quite right. Probably because the relationship between these is slightly different. So now we go. That sounds right. I couldn't tell you music theory why that sounds right, but probably because the interval between these two. That's a dirty word, dude. I shouldn't even be saying that after I just hated on music theory so hard. But I will tell you, like, whoever's writing like those really good hyperpop melodies that you know, I would probably guess that their skill in writing those melodies does not come from them thinking about hyperpop melodies and the relationships between notes and shit. It comes from them practicing doing it and understanding what works like technically, if that makes sense. So here, again, we're just going to alter this last chord. We're kind of keeping the same relationship. So these two are the same, these two are the same. And then we're going to kind of like make one more alteration, which is this. This changes here. So we have like a couple different little... And that could be the end there. We could just say that that's a fitting melody, but I want to keep with the pattern that I have in the background here. And I'm sure about 80% of the viewership has died off by now, but that is my little method for manipulating an ARP. As you can see, we have repeating patterns, a little bit of a motif, as it were. And that's going to do it for this first one. So let's talk about another trick that I think is super useful. And this one I call top and bottom. And I stole this from another artist, and that's how I'm going to, you know, all these methods that I've, you know, showed, some of them come from just referencing other artists. So we'll talk about this melody next. And the method here, I'll make one of these just from scratch. Hopefully you're not going to hold that against me. Let's just kind of start with doing our second thing. So we have a top and we have a bottom. We have two different sounds that we're doing here. And I'm going to go off of my Lieu Forgive acapella. And it's not playing quite yet. I got to turn everything back on except for this. So that sounds like it's in the right key. Okay, so let's call that the bottom. I'm sure most of the viewership just left then too, because I think people say that they want this, but it's really it's the people that are willing to like put in some effort. I hate to hate on audience members. Thank you anybody who watches these videos, but like I'm just so hyper aware that like doing this, everybody that was just kind of like fair weather, like, oh, this seems cool, but I don't really care about learning this, they're gone now. Goodbye to them. I'm sorry. So now what we're going to do here, we have a changing rhythmic like complementary bottom that we can now do like a super repetitive top. So we're going to kind of copy our trick here that we did in the first one, and we'll go Here's another good little tip, which is just change the like sequence of your notes in time. And I don't know if this is going to be exactly right, but you'll get the idea. Okay, hopefully this is a good enough example just to show you. And as you maybe have noticed, my ear is kind of tuned into whatever this is in D sharp. My ear has been tuned into D sharp, so I just kind of know. Now that I don't think that's as good of a melody as my first one. It might be a little more interesting of a melody, but that's the second trick. It's used like a pattern of different notes together. Okay, so continuing on to the next one. The next one I have here is called Connect the Flows, and you'll see once I play it what the idea is. We have this basic melody here, kind of similar to the bottom melody from the other one. And again, you know, it's kind of a copy paste job where I do the first little section and then I either continue it by ear or I just paste it in and make alterations. So as you can see, we have the rising between these two notes and these two notes, falling between these two and these two here, and then we repeat this note and then we have a little falling into it. That works on its own as a hyperpop thing, but you know, there's no way for me to really explain this other than that's what the melody I came up with was. How do we enrich it? How do we make it even more hyper poppy? Let's fill in the gaps between the notes here. So I'm hearing like a raised thing. Oh, and then I'm hearing this one move. So the other thing too is don't say that your bottom is like unmovable. You want to change anything that feels like it'll work to your ear. So yeah, I like that. Let's even do one more little run on this, which is maybe copy these, paste them, and raise them an octave. I just don't like that piece. And then I can do the same principle here. So I'll just start by grabbing my new notes, which I think are actually, I don't know exactly what they are, but they'll come to mind. And I don't want to play this before I've kind of thought it out, so we'll slowly go through this. You know what? I like that. I think that's perfect. Let's try that. You know, it could go either way. No, I like it better once I put the vocal on it up here. Okay, we'll call that done. So you get the idea there. We're just filling in between the melodies. I really probably should be moving quicker on these. Let's move to my next one, which is a super quick and easy one that I didn't even use a reference to write. So I'll just play it first. Right, little cheesy sounding, but first of all, we're kind of doing the top and bottom trick here. But the main difference is we have a higher sound. That's really not important. That's not part of the trick. The main thing with this trick is, let's say we've written a piece and we want to extend it. We want to, whoa, not that. Let's make this unique. And let me say, like, I have a started art, but I don't want it to be such a static. I'll go ahead and get rid of this. I have a thing here and I don't want it to be such a static repeating, you know, it just sounds like up, you know, a thing that goes over and over and over again like this. There's a super easy, cool trick that you can use, which is just get rid of one of the notes, shift it over, find the right note to replace. So we have completely like a elongated, better version of a melody. I really think that's all I have to say about that one. Is that the same thing that I came up with here? No, the only thing that I did to make it even better is just alter more notes. Just do stuff like that. That's a good trick. It's nice and simple. So that's from Sebi. The vocal is from Sebi's track Slide with Eric DOA. This is one that, like, I think when I first started producing, all I did was this. This was the first big trick. This is the first breakthrough I think I had, which was, let's say we're starting a thing out. We don't know what we want our ARP melody to be. We can start with strings or any chorded thing. Doesn't sound as good. Okay, so now what is the trick with this one, right? What are we doing here? It's kind of particular, right? Because you want to maintain the flow. If we go in here, make a clone of this just so I'm not messing up the original thing. Then what we have here is our initial ARP that we write. But we want to maintain the integrity of it. God damn it, don't switch. Don't do that. Oh my God. So how do we maintain the integrity? So we want to make sure that when we're shifting things, we shift them in sets. Bro, that might even be enough to make it work. Let's just try shifting these two. Oh, now one of the keys that I almost forgot to mention is you want to keep the same number of notes so that you have the same number of ARP things. Definitely experiment with these. This is going to be one of the big tricks with this though, is you would think you want to shift this one. Maybe where's the one that's missing a thing? Okay, so we have two that are missing a thing. Now the initial thought would probably be, okay, well, we'll just fill in the blanks. We'll put this one here and this one here. Now this is going to sound wrong and I'll explain why. If it doesn't sound wrong to you, that's fine. Do this trick the whatever way you want to do it. Okay, so that sounds wrong to my ear, and I have deduced the reason why after doing this trick enough times and shifting enough notes 1,000 different times around to realize that we have messed with the interval relationship of these notes. So what we want here is this one goes up. So these need to go up, and then this one here that's missing its place would probably be better set here. And then this, I don't want these two, I don't want the note relationship between these to get messed up, so we'll shift both of these up. Am I right? Do I know this for sure? Probably. Oh, we have two different patterns playing right now, so I gotta copy this over to here. So it sounds a little better. It still sounds a little wanky to me, a little janky to me. And then let's say we were trying to copy this again on the last one. Shift all these down. Don't just move this if I didn't make it clear enough. You don't want to just do that. You want to maintain the relationships between the notes. At least as far as like directionality goes. Still sounds a little wonky, but you get the idea there. Just be picky, and guess what? If you don't like the second half, get fucking rid of it, dude. Get rid of it. It gives you more freedom with your other melodies in your track. That's probably a better tip than what I was saying. Because then once you have this, you have very slight changes that you can make tons of adjustments in the other instruments around it and not be as like stuck into switching your bass line here because you switched your F to be lower, right? Okay, let's move into the last one. God damn, this is going to be an hour-long tutorial. Okay, so moving on to my last two tricks here. These are kind of just like alterations on the first couple that I've shown. So most of them that I've started, I've talked about just like kind of throwing random notes getting whatever sticks, copying it over. So you can kind of be, of course you can always plan out your entire melody, but if you know how to do that, you don't really need any of this tutorial. So let's talk about another trick that you can do, which is to get something like this, which I didn't sound design this one as well, so just forgive the jankiness of it.
I think I like you this much. Started off as just a little crush. Now drowning in my emotions. Can't turn off my hyperfocus.
That's Han IRL on the vocal there. The same trick is both being used here and here, just at different styles. So
Tongue tied, you're out of reach. My ex-boy got the best of me. Picked up some psycho tendencies. Now I'm the one who ruins everything.
So again, what we're doing here is we are setting an initial rhythm with one note that is in the key of my track or just works in the key of my track. So I have B here. So now let's try and fill the spaces in between the rhythm instead of the other thing. And we don't have to fill every single space in. That's another thing that I haven't really, focused on in this tutorial, which is like, you don't have to always have something going on at every second of every beat or whatever. So let's just kind of try and fill this in. We can even change our little rhythmizer out here. If we change it, we might want to copy it over again though, so. I just kind of like the original thing better, so we're going to do this. And I don't need to show more of this. You get the idea. You know what I'm saying here, brother. You know what I'm getting at. You get the idea. Okay, so that's how you get something like this. I think I like you this much. Started off as just a little crush. No. Don't overthink it. Just do something like that. Okay, so the idea for this one is we start with a rhythm, right? And then we just take our rhythm and make alterations to it. Right? These are all the same rhythm of notes. And now we can take this rhythm that we've built, added our alterations to it, and fill in the gaps however we decide to. Last one we have Jane Camo, Home, Classic, Dariacore Classic, or I guess a Hyperpop Classic. And this one is just mixing in the last thing that I haven't talked about, but that's really useful to have, which is use chords. Don't talk shit about me. You know it makes me mad. It comes back to bite you in the ass, and I feel so surrounded by all these pebbles covering the mountain. So again, I wrote a simple pattern like I started with here, and then I just added some chords under it. You can even mess around with a little bit of strummage. Don't talk shit about me. You know it makes me mad. It comes back to bite you in the ass, and I feel so surrounded by all these pebbles covering. So you get the idea there. I'm not going to even go in and do any add. Another thing with all the additions that I've been saying, God, how many times have I said another thing in this video? You don't always have to fill the spaces in. I like this one with the spacing that's already in it. Lastly, so again, I've done the high-low trick, right? Except this time, the lows are chords because they're just adding a separate note to the same patch instead of a new patch. And then as you see, I have a little muted out note there. And the reason I muted it out is just to show that like I've done additional processes, like I've always been adding something, or altering something in this tutorial, but you don't have to always add. Right? Kind of sounds like weird computer music, but you don't always have to take stuff away. Just once you get something you're set with, use it. And hopefully you haven't clicked off the video yet, because I just remembered I said I was going to show how to get your own tricks, like the method for developing those. And one of the best ways, two of the methods that I showed in this, the manipulate and ARP and the top and bottom method, I got directly from referencing somebody's track, copying the melody exactly, and then just looking at it and seeing like, what can I do? So So for this one, I took Lieu's song "You Could Never," took the beginning art part out. And then copied the notes exactly. And you can kind of go in and just do this by ear. And this is my little version that I came up with. One of the tips that I'll give is just try and pick like a similar sound. So here I am using a tank drum sample with the beginning cut off and a little volume envelope that I'm not even going to show. So I did that to copy that. And then I just went in and said like, okay, well, what does it look like he did here? How can I, do something similar to this? And what did I show at the beginning? The exact thing that basically I just, showed, except his maybe has a couple less alterations. Maybe that's something that you note and that you say, huh? Right? Like this is what the people that most likely you listen to are doing. So like pay attention to what they're doing. Go check their stuff out and like don't steal. So I'm not saying steal it, right? Don't take this. You could sample it for Dariacore, but like if you want to be able to write it on your own, pull it, copy it, look at it and say like, oh, this is how this is working. Imagine like trying to work on a car, but being like, I'll never look at a built car. That's cheating. If I look at a built car, I'm just copying what they did. It's like, don't be fucking retarded, dude. Learn from the best. Here we have another one. And as you can kind of hear, that's the high-low trick that I was showing. We have two different melodies, and I copied his melody exactly, right? So that gives me an idea of just like, oh, I can have repeating notes. That's one thing that I really try and stay away from when I'm writing music. But like, now that I did this bit of research, I'm going to be like, okay, well, let me try and build a pattern that has more rhythm by repeating notes. The one thing that I'll say that was hard about this one was I really couldn't find the bottom notes were easy to get, right? The top notes were a little harder, but the way that I got them was going in here and doing half speed. Half speed is a really, really good, thing to use. And it slows your DAW down too, so then you can go in and when you're writing this, I mean, you can copy it at that speed, so. And so yeah, that's going to do it for this one, y'all. The next tutorial I do will be how to make the actual sound design and the processing that I put on all these different melodies. I'll probably show how to make this one good live. Since there's like no processing on it. You can support this channel by going to Patreon. I will be putting tons of Dariacore melody loops and Hyperpop melody loops on Patreon, and I put out 100 samples every month. If you sign up right now, you get the last 5 sample packs, so that's $5 for 500 samples. Also, Gumroad, I sell separate sample packs, and if you want to get a lesson, you can do that by hitting me up on SoundCloud, Messenger, Instagram Messenger, or Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. That's going to do it for this one, y'all. Thank you, and I will see you in the next one.